and welcome in to the Blitz podcast. As always, I am your host, Mr. Kane Schwartz, and I'm joined by my fellow academic weapon, Jaden Kozak. We're both going through it right now, man. We got finals next week. I got a bunch of fucking papers due this week, so just like football doesn't slow down as we approach week 14, neither does school. How we feeling, man?
Feeling all right. I mean, my Dodgers are losing superstars left and right over here, so I'm right down in the barrel with the Pirates and the Orioles and all those teams. I mean, we're right down there, and the Sixers are 2-5 when Embiid and Harden play together. So the Steelers are my last hope right now.
The Steelers did catch a dub on Sunday. The Commanders can't say the same. A tie is such a weird feeling, dude. Like it's a.
What is your take on the tie? Do you think it should be removed and we just do overtime on overtime like they do in the playoffs?
I mean, everybody wants to complain about the tie when it comes down to it. Like when all of overtime is played through. Like it doesn't happen very often. Like it doesn't.
Oh no, it doesn't. But like that's like one of people's main complaints about soccer is like you could play for 90 minutes and nothing has changed.
No, that's true. But like, it's so unlikely.
But I think given two overtime periods, I don't know if the Commanders and Giants would have scored. Okay. So,
all right, your game was such a barn burner, and your star wide receiver.
We scored one less point than you, and you guys had an extra quarter.
Your star wide receiver fucking hates your quarterback, hates your team, hates your offensive coordinator.
Okay, all right. You guys basically signed Baker Mayfield today, so let's get moving here. Basically, more or less. I made a post about it, so
yeah. I was at the gym earlier when Jaden in the group chat says Commanders have interest in Baker Mayfield with an eyes emoji, and I felt so infuriated at that time. Like, and then he said that it came from CBS Sports, and I was just like death gripping my phone, and thank God it didn't happen. Baker Mayfield's a Ram, so
could have been.
Thank God. All right. Let's dive into it, and I'm sorry if I talked over you at all to start, because I got to get the delay configured. But yeah, without further ado, let's dive into power rankings heading into week 14. So, to recap for our audio listeners on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good shit. Here is the rankings from last week, and you can follow along on Instagram as well. To start out tier 1, the Chiefs were our number 1 team in football, followed by the Eagles, Dolphins, Niners, Cowboys, Bills, Bengals, and Vikings. And then we had in tier 2, the Titans, Ravens, Jets, Commanders, Chargers, Patriots, Bucs, Seahawks. And then it was the Browns, Lions, Raiders, Packers, Giants, Jags, Cardinals, and Steelers in tier 3. And then to round out tier 4, we had the Colts, Falcons, Panthers, Bears, Saints, Broncos, Rams, and Texans. So, we talked about it last week. The Chiefs were our solidified number 1 and had no doubt about it. But they went down to Cincinnati this week, and they lost. It was a close game, came down to the wire, very similar to how that AFC Championship game played out. I believe the stat that was thrown out on the broadcast was that the Chiefs are like 22-2 against the rest of the league over the past like 3 years or something, 2 years, and they're 0-3 2 years, right?
Well, over.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something like that. And I think they're 12-0 or 12-2 in 2022, and they're 0-3 against the Bengals because they played the Bengals in Week 17 of last year, which was in 2022, and again in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now this
so
year.
The Bengals have proved to be the bugaboo of Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and that whole gang. But meanwhile, our number 2 team in football beat the fuck out of the Titans, man. I mean, you don't really have to look too far beyond A.J. Brown's celebration on the goalpost to know what happened in that game, where he was beating it. Did you see his explanation afterwards, too? He was I had to give him a beating, but I still love you, though. because that's why I like hugged him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit, dude. That was, I guarantee you, that was a result of, whether it be player uproar or the coaches. Somebody came after their owner or their GM. There was a blow up after Sunday's game. Canned, because, I mean, the very rarely do you see a GM get fired midseason. Because I mean, especially now the trade deadline's over. What other moves is he making until the offseason to the point where you couldn't just wait? Something happened after that game that caused him to get fired.
Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't help seeing the guy you traded away in the offseason get 2 touchdowns and continuously mock your team.
Now, granted, Traylon Burks was going, right there with him for. I mean, he only played like 12 snaps, but he answered that touchdown that AJ had first. Gets concussed, gets ruled out almost immediately, and it's done for the day. But it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, it could for sure. But I have the Eagles at 1 personally. Do you also have the Eagles at 1? Okay.
As do I.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I know that you were a little against it last week, but this is why. This is why I wanted to hold them there, because they're a good football team.
I mean, they go in and beat the team at the top of our Tier 2 in Tennessee. Was it at the Link or in Tennessee? I think it was at the Link, actually.
Pretty.
Let me look.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So, I mean, regardless, a very impressive win against a team that me and Mitch both had beating the Eagles. But, yeah, the Eagles come out victorious, so they move to 1. But let's move around some of these other teams, shall we? God.
Everything gets busted open here. I think the Chiefs losing and all the other events that happened this week, I've got a lot of movement up there.
So, I think the Chiefs losing to the Bengals, a Tier 1 team last week, in Cincinnati, with Jamar Chase coming back, shouldn't be like, oh, we moved the Chiefs down like 3 spots. Like, personally, I haven't moved the Chiefs at all.
I moved the Chiefs to 3.
All right. So,
because of a showing that we saw the second dominant performance in 3 weeks from the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. No, I can't argue too much against that. I mean, it was the Colts who were going to continue to move down.
I agree, but it was like their second 40-plus point game in 3 weeks. They also beat the Giants the week before. I think they've won 4 straight now since the Packers loss. And we're talking shit Super Bowl. You might even be talking Super Bowl, one of the Super Bowl favorites now, in Dallas. I know that OBJ, it really seems that he's going to end up there. Doesn't seem like he's going to be playing this regular season, but would be a nice boost for them come playoff time as well. There are things with Kansas City, though, that just concern me. The pass rush just has not been getting to the quarterback the last couple weeks. The secondary has not been playing very well the last couple weeks, and they're just relying on Patrick Mahomes to do so. And, you make one mistake like a Travis Kelce fumble and you're going to lose the game. So, I'm not Chief stock, but I think that, maybe this time next week we're having the conversation of moving them back to 1 or 2, but I think Dallas has definitely earned that number 2 spot for this week.
Yeah, I can get with that. I mean, I had them at 3. The thing that really gets me, I don't want to say excited for the Cowboys, but the thing that gives me optimism for the Cowboys and the playoff run is this offense is not contingent on Dak Prescott anymore. They don't need Dak Prescott to be. The
team isn't contingent on Dak Prescott because that defense is, Dak. I mean, I'm not going to say quarterback's their weakest spot, but they've been running the ball effectively. They've been, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, those guys have been working after the catch. The offensive line has started to play a lot better, and the defense looks like probably the second best unit in the NFL outside of San Francisco. They're playing well in all phases of the game right now.
Yeah, no, can't debate there. I mean, Tony Pollard and Zeke have officially turned into one of the best running back committees that we've ever seen. I mean, it's fucking awesome. Yeah. So, okay. All right, I will move the Cowboys to 2, Chiefs at 3. All right, so now the Dolphins lost this week, so they're definitely getting moved down. The next team that I have is the Bills after beating the Pats on Thursday Night Football, because the Pats were a team that was riding hot into that game, but they beat them down pretty convincingly. So I like the Bills at 4. How about you?
So I've got the Bengals here. The Bengals have been they've been playing really well recently. Obviously, they just beat the Chiefs. Joe Burrow has not had a turnover-worthy play since week 3.
God, he's special, man.
Legitimately, I'm not saying he's better than him, but he's playing like the best quarterback in football right now. Like, for the last 2 months, he's played better than Patrick Mahomes. He's played better than Josh Allen. He's played better than any quarterback that you want to throw in there. And I think I might officially be ready to jump into the Burrow greater than Herbert party. I think it might be time. And I'm sorry, Mitchell. I was going to send a text earlier, but I was driving, and I'm never on my phone when I'm driving ever. So, yeah, Cincinnati's playing really well right now. I have Buffalo right behind him at 5. That was kind of a debate for me, but man, Cincinnati's just playing so well right now, and it just feels like they're playing a little bit better than Buffalo.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not as quick to forget the early season losses. Like, I know it was without Jamar Chase for the most part.
Yeah, but Buffalo's had some losses in there too. I mean, I think Cincinnati's got one game, and that's without Jamar Chase, did they?
They lost to They lost to the Ravens.
Carolina.
They lost to
That was with Jamar. They lost to the Cowboys in week 2. They lost to us in week 3, or in week 1. And they lost to the Browns. That's the one thing. But since then, they've played phenomenal. Like, I mean, they beat the Panthers by like 30. Who have they played? They obviously just beat our number 1 team in Kansas City.
They played.
Who did they play last week? They played Pittsburgh. They beat us. They played Tennessee, which is another one of our tier. I mean, they were a tier 1 team when they beat them.
Just like they won in prime, or not in prime time, but they won at home. Like, it's like you should. I don't know. I know the Chiefs were favored by 2, but I don't see it. But we really haven't seen anything that impressive from the Bills lately. I mean, that Pats win was pretty good.
Yeah,
but...
and the thing is, the defense, and my main concern was, like, I remember saying that we need to move the Bengals down when they lost Joby Awuzie for the year, because that quarterback room is very thin. But Eli Apple has been playing well. Cam Taylor-Britt, the rookie, has stepped up. So secondary's been fine, and the defense as a whole, like, every single player on that defense is, like, average. Nobody's really, like, Trey Hendrickson's good. Jesse Bates is really good. Nobody on that defense, though, is, like, a superstar. But no one is bad on that defense, like, at all. It's crazy. And then, I mean, how do you stop this offense? They've been, going out there putting on phenomenal offensive performances with Samaje Perine in place of Joe Mixon.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, too. Like, the fact that I didn't think the reason that I picked the Chiefs in the game was because of no Mixon. And the fact that they could still win without him,
which is weird, because I thought he was going to be back. Like, I mean, it just looked like, he just got dinged. They ruled a concussion, so he didn't play the next week. I thought for sure he'd be back last week against Kansas City, but I guess he just wasn't ready.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been a thing with Joe Mixon too. Like, I mean, he's always been injury prone.
Yeah, you can't say
outside of last year.
I think Cincinnati, I know that you're getting production from now Samaje Perine too, so, like, you're kind of thinking, dude, they might be a sleeper team to take a running back in, like, the second round. I mean, they don't really, like I said, almost everybody on their defense is at least average, and then that offensive line, they just put them a lot of money into. They've obviously got all the weapons, so they might be a sleeper team to take a running back in the second round or something.
Yeah, no, I could get with that. I mean, continue to build on this offense that is turning into one of the best in the league, if not the best. God, I really don't want to move them ahead of the Bills, man. Like, the Bills did just beat the Pats in New England.
I think I'd cede. This is one thing that I'd let slide. If you want to put the Bills at 4, Bengals at 5.
Because, like, I believe in the Bengals, but, like, it's gonna take, I feel like, another week for me to be like, okay, this is certifiably.
Well, they have a gauntlet for the rest of the year. I don't know what order they play them, but they play Baltimore, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, New England, and Cleveland.
Fuck. Baltimore.
4 teams with a winning record, and Cleveland, who's going to be with Deshaun Watson and have really given them fits over the last few years with Joe Burrow.
I think the matchups against Baltimore are definitely the most memorable, for sure.
Well, the thing is, they might not have Lamar Jackson. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I mean, it doesn't look like Lamar's going to be playing this week. It says it's a 1 to 3 week injury. They're not in the same scenario where they were last year, where they got this injury right around this time for Lamar, and they were just like, all right, well, we're just going to shut him down because even if what do we do if we get into the playoffs with this roster? So, I mean, we'll talk about the Ravens
All right.
a little bit.
So we have the first 5 teams all set. The next team that I got is the 49ers.
See, I've got the Dolphins here. And I know you're the big Dolphins guy. But look, man, Jimmy G, as much as flack as he gets, he's really good. And while Kyle Shanahan's been able to get guys like CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins come in here and put up stats, they haven't been able to get wins, whoever else that they've had in the Kyle Shanahan era. And with no, Baker's not an option. This isn't a 1 to 2 week thing where we're just kind of waiting. It's not like the Ravens where we move them down for the next couple weeks and then Lamar comes back. It's Brock Purdy until at least the divisional round, I'm pretty sure. It's him the rest of the way. There's nothing coming to save them. This is your guy, Mr. Irrelevant, who played well. And, at one point he got worse every year in his college career, which is not a good sign. But at one point was a solid prospect. And he played well on Sunday. I will grant you that. But I need to see another full Brock Purdy start before I'm like, okay, I'm kind of back in on the Niners. Because look, like I told you before the show, I had the Niners at 3. And then I was like, oh shit, Jimmy G broke his foot. I completely forgot about that. Because I love the Niners. I love the playmakers. I love the defense. All of it. But there's a certain point of you need this level of quarterback to be able to succeed with a team that, even as good as they are.
Yeah, for sure. I think you do have me convinced, man. I mean, Jimmy G, as much hate I've especially put on him in the past few years, he is one of the best game-managing quarterbacks in the league. And that's exactly what this 49ers team needs to run. And Brock Purdy, he did look really good on Sunday, but there's always been that myth. Once you throw in the backup quarterback, he's probably going to do well because you don't have any tape on him for the most part. You didn't prepare for him, so that's why Brock Purdy probably showed out on Sunday. But to play devil's advocate, man, outside of the Jimmy G injury, this is still the number 1 defense in football. You still have Christian McCaffrey, probably the best running back in football right now, who's only going to get more work now. So that could mean good things, honestly. Yeah, that could mean good things for this offense, possibly. Maybe they get more creative. Debo's fully healthy now. It was questionable whether or not he was going to play.
Yeah, they don't want to use him anymore. That guy stinks.
He was involved. To my dismay, he was involved on Sunday a little bit. But you got Ayuk, you got Kittle. Kittle hasn't even been.
Oh no! Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love this group of playmakers. This team is phenomenal. I would kill to have this exact. I remember saying last year, I was like, why did I choose to be a Steelers fan when I could have just been a Niners fan? This would have been so much funner. I could have watched 2 Super Bowls with a rooting interest, and have this amazing coach, great offensive mind, and Debo, but nope.
Pittsburgh. Hey man,
Plus I've always loved G too.
You're talking to a Commanders fan, so I can't help you with your debate over switching teams. But, God, yeah. I mean, Kittle hasn't even been getting targeted, dude. Neither has Ayuk these past couple weeks. So, maybe these guys just get more targets now that Brock Purdy's in. Maybe these guys...
I agree. I mean... It's not like they were running the ball with Jimmy G. The same amount of targets are going to be going out.
Yeah. Less.
In fact, it might be even less because it's it's not like a Lamar situation where you're taking him out, you're taking away 15 plays where he runs the ball, and now you've got to spread those targets around. I mean, I think the offense looks primarily the same, and I don't know if there's any way it can look better than it has just because Purdy doesn't have that experience. And like I said, he got worse every single year. And his PFF grades dropped every single year. And if a similar situation plays out on a per game basis here in the NFL, they could be an early out in the playoffs for as great as of a team as this is. If the more tape that teams get on him, the worse he gets, this could be a problem.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, as far as any situation in the league that you want to hop into as a backup quarterback right now, I think San Fran is probably the best.
Oh yeah, it's definitely this one. That's why I was like so hyped for Baker to go there, because I've always liked Baker. Like, it kind of sucked that he just ended up going to the division and then was good and bad and then good and then bad, and then
Terrible.
Now he's floating around on waivers in week 14. But I was telling my dad last night, I was like, well, here's what's going to happen. He's going to sign with San Francisco. He's going to like put up pretty good stats in the season. Then he's going to go to the playoffs. He's going to play really well. And then some team's going to sign him to a stupid deal this offseason. But now he's going to go to LA with no protection, no weapons. And he's going to get murdered.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows you how much you got to play your situation right, man. Like, if he would have not been a crybaby little bitch and stuck around in Cleveland for like 11 weeks.
They traded for Deshaun Watson. I know, but
like, if you would have been his backup, like, you're going to be a backup now anyway, probably. Like, now, because of how you played in Carolina. So, like, if you would have been a backup for Deshaun to start the year in the same offense that you've been pretty decent in, like, Baker probably would have showed out a lot better. And then he would have been benched for Deshaun, and somebody would have been like, this guy does not deserve to be a backup quarterback. He should be a starter with how he played so far this year. Like, that's how it should have gone. But Baker decided to be a bitch.
I just wish, dude, I wish he fell to San Francisco, man. If he would have fell to San Francisco, all this would have been fixed.
Fair.
He'd been great. So what are we doing with the Niners? Are we going to leave them?
How
about, okay, do we want them to jump Minnesota? Because I had Miami at 6, Minnesota at 7, San Francisco at 8.
I had the 49ers, Vikings, and then the Dolphins.
I find it absolutely hilarious how much we just like constantly disrespect the Vikings. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 lost teams in front of them. 3 lost teams in front of them, and then
maybe. So I had the Vikings in front of the Dolphins, but I had the 49ers ahead of the Vikings.
Well, I had the.
So maybe. I mean, the Vikings did beat the Jets this week, man.
Well, and you also got to think, man. You remember 1 week's time ago, you wanted the Dolphins at 2.
Yeah.
Now Tua did not play well in this game. His adjusted completion percentage was like 59, which is like 20% less than what his season adjusted completion percentage is.
Best defense in football.
Oh no, I agree. That's why I'm saying, like, that's why I'm not like pressing the panic button on Miami here. But you also got to think, like, that was easily his worst game of the season so far that he was like fully healthy in. I mean, outside of that 75-yard touchdown and really, that 45-yard touchdown to Tyreek, that offense could not move the ball at all. So we'll see. Again, best defense in football, so I'm not ready. I'm not slamming the panic button on the Dolphins yet, but we're tempering expectations.
And also, like, there's a lot of emotions in that game. You got McDaniel. Like, there's a lot of outside contingency factors involved in that game too. Like, he was going to San Fran, like, visiting his old stomping grounds, and also, like, there was a debate. I mean, I didn't think that there was a debate. But there was a debate whether or not Mike Gesicki caught that pass and like pushed it up against his helmet for a first down. But they reversed it, and Mike McDaniel, I've never seen him so angry. But yeah, okay. I like the Dolphins. Yeah, a Dolphins ahead of the Niners. And what do we think about the Vikings ahead of the Niners?
I had the Vikings ahead of the Niners just because they once again escaped by the skin of their teeth this week. They're in a position to clinch their division title this week, I'm pretty sure. And they still have their starting quarterback.
Yeah. All right. So I'm rocking with tier 1.
And look, again, I love the Niners. I love the Niners, but it's just really hard. Like, it's really hard to continue to rank them high when you're running out guys that have, your third quarterback on the roster. Like,
yeah.
Tier 2 is a fucking slop fest. Like, I could literally take the team that I have at 16 and put them at 9 and, like, would be able to hear an argument for what you're going to say about them. Because the team I have at 16 is the Commanders.
What the fuck?
If you wanted to put... What we had him at? We had him at what? 14,
They didn't
13 last week.
lose. He
Didn't
went to
win.
New York, a 7-4 team.
That we've had in tier 3, the back half of tier 3, that you and I both know isn't good.
Chase Young's coming back. I know I've said that for the past 4 weeks, but I have no clue why he wouldn't be back this coming week.
Yeah, well, what I've heard, and again, the Chase Young will be back this week has gone on for about a month now. But what I heard was that while he was going to be coming back against the Giants, it wouldn't be in this past week's game. It would be in their next game against the Giants after the bye week, this upcoming week. So week 15 he'll be back. So my tier two, and I am totally open to suggestions, movement, whatever you want to do here. We've got the Titans still at 9. I don't feel good about it, but I don't feel good about anybody else. The Jets at 10, then Tampa, then Seattle, Baltimore, the Chargers, the Raiders, and then the Commanders. And then the Patriots, if we want to move them back into tier 2, that's fine. I don't know what to do with any of these teams.
All right, I'll start out by saying that the fact that you don't have the Lions in tier 2 is a crime.
Oh, yeah, and the Lions were also in that realm. I forgot. I just didn't have them there. I did it while I was in class. I told you, tier 2 is a wreck. Like, after I texted you guys, every team either lost, tied, or won in a one-score game with a score inside of 30 seconds left.
Okay. The Titans have played 2 good teams back-to-back weeks and lost. Okay.
The Bengals, they were competitive with the Bengals.
Yeah.
They got shellacked by Philly. So if we want to move them down, I'm willing to hear that. But the problem was I don't feel comfortable with the Jets.
No, I don't. I mean, the Jets lost this week. They should have won, too. Like, they were in a position to win that game with under a minute left, and they didn't.
Dude, I was going to, like, when the Vikings had the ball at the 1, I was going to laugh my ass off if they botched the snap in the end zone the same way that they beat Buffalo and they screwed up this. That would have been the most hilarious thing to ever. Because, I mean, how many times have you seen that happen where they botch the snap in the end zone on the 1-yard line, and it happens twice in one season on both sides for one team? That would have been very, very funny.
And honestly, there was a likely chance that it might have happened because Kirk does like to sneak it up the middle.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Yeah.
My tier 2. Obviously biased.
Please don't tell me
I
you put the
did put the
Commanders
Commanders at 9.
What the?
They didn't lose
They
either.
tied with the Giants, and they moved up 4 spots.
Yes, I mean, because in comparison to the other teams, like, I mean, you look at the teams in this fucking realm, like, no shot. I have them ahead of the Ravens, and it's not close. Like, the Jets lost this week. I'm willing to hear an argument there. The Chargers are in tier 3. Don't need to talk about that. The Pats are in my tier 3 too. The Bucs have a conversation. All right, so my tier 2 is listed.
I'd be more
as Commanders.
Look, I don't want to say it, but go ahead.
Commanders, Raiders, Titans, Lions, Jets, Bucs, Seahawks, Ravens.
Okay. For again?
Okay, let's start from the top. I'm cool with not moving the Titans at all. That makes sense to me. They've lost 2 weeks in a row to 2 good teams, and I don't feel good about moving any other teams up. But I feel like the Raiders definitely belong up here, dude. Like, I mean, they've been on a fucking tear.
I think it's too soon. It's too soon. They're 4-7, Kane.
Dude, they've won
They're 4-7.
4 or 5 in a row.
They've won 3 in a row. They've won 3 in a row, 2 of which were in overtime. Yeah. This is their first win in regulation since week 7. It's week 13.
They're 5-7.
Now, listen. Do I think? Okay. Do I think they need to move up? Yes, 100%. I had them in tier. I think I had them at 13 or 14, something like that. But they are 4-7, 5-7, whatever. Their defense is still a train wreck. They have Max Crosby, and that's it. Chandler Jones has a half sack in 13 games. He is getting paid $17 million this year, and he has a half of a sack, and he's been healthy all year. As to our knowledge, he's healthy. I'm fine with moving them in front of the Chargers. I still think that with Tyler Huntley are probably better than the Raiders. With, the defense in Baltimore is clicking. Like, it's playing really well.
That offense is bottom 5 right now. That offense is bottom 3.
The Raiders' defense is bottom 5.
Okay, but
it's not bottom 3, dude. Denver, Houston, Chicago, L.A., Indy, Carolina.
I'd argue Indy's
Atlanta.
Better right now. I'd argue
7
Indy
right
and
there.
Carolina are better right now.
Indy has fumbled the ball 30 times in 13 games. 30.
Okay. That's fair.
30 times. How many times they turn the ball over in the fourth quarter?
Dude, all right,
on Sunday night.
Let's talk about the fucking Ravens, dude. The Ravens suck. They smell bad. They're terrible. I said that they were one of the best teams in football to start the year. Brandon Marshall was talking about how this might be the best Ravens team ever. It couldn't be farther from the truth. Dude, they beat our 3rd worst team in the NFL 10-9 at home. At home. Let me finish. They beat 10-9 the Broncos at home. They lose by 1 to the Jags in Jacksonville. They beat the Panthers after going 3. It was tied 3-3 going into that fourth quarter. They won 13-3 against the Panthers. So, like, these past 3 weeks are terrible.
Raiders in front of the Ravens.
Okay.
I can't put the Raiders over Seattle confidently because I know Vegas beat them last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? Might have been 2 weeks ago. That was a good game. Both teams played really well. Josh Jacobs had an 86-yard touchdown to finish the game. Can't really knock the Raiders for that, but I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, Seattle played like shit. I'm still taking Tampa over the Raiders. I'm still taking the Jets over the Raiders and the Titans as well. So
I'll do the Jets.
But okay, who do you feel better about then, Lions or Raiders? You want to hear some crazy shit?
Sure.
It's at home, but the Lions are 2-point favorites against Minnesota this week.
Wow. Okay, well, I feel better about the Lions then. If Vegas feels better about the Lions, then I feel better about the Lions. I mean,
it might have moved, but I think it opened at 2 points for the.
Here, I'll take a look right now.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm taking a look. That is so. But that's like what I'm saying. It shows you how much teams think, or how much Vegas thinks of. 2.5. It's moved further. Vikings are unserious.
Maybe do we put this Lions team, who have done very well recently, on a 3-game win streak? At one point, DC thought he was going to get fired.
If you're about to say they go in tier 1, I'm going to have to.
No, they don't belong in tier 1. Maybe they belong ahead of the Titans, though.
Okay. If we're moving the Titans back, I think the Bucs need to be at 9. I can't put the Lions at 9.
Okay, let's talk about the Bucs real quick. They looked dog shit terrible for 3.5 quarters of football, bro.
They got that boy though.
Like, dude,
they got that boy.
I was talking in my sports comp class today with one of my boys, and literally, if they were to run that 2-minute offense the entire game, they would be better off. If they just ran a 2-minute drill the entire game, but they won't. They won't. They won't do it. It won't happen. This is a Saints team that scored 0 points the week prior. This is not a good Saints team.
Against it. Well, you also got those. They had 2 chances to score. I think they fumbled on the goal line twice. So they threw an interception on the goal line and fumbled on the goal. Like, literally, Alvin Kamara got hit as he's running. And it wasn't even like a dive over the pile situation. Like, he's out. And he just got popped. Ball flew up in the air. Niners got it. I don't think the Saints are good. But this is such a fucking crazy NFL season.
You can't, but it is a crazy NFL season. You cannot convince me that the Bucs belong anywhere near that 9 spot. They don't. They belong in tier 3.
You can't convince me the Lions belong there either.
Okay, all right, man. Like the Lions, they did lose to the Bills, but outside of losing to the Bills, ever since playing the Dolphins at home, they lost by 4 there. That's impressive. They beat the Packers 15-9. They beat the Bears 31-30. They beat the Giants in New York 31-18. They lost to the Bills at home by 3. And the Bills did play in Ford Field the week prior, so that's definitely an advantage. And they smacked the dog shit.
The Lions have played there. The Lions have played there for like the last 20 years. Is that an advantage, Kane?
Dude, okay. It was a little bit more of an advantage than the Bills than they would have had.
You act like the Lions are walking into unfamiliar territory here, walking into their home stadium.
It was more of an advantage than they would have had if they didn't play at Ford Field at all the week prior. Like, obviously, that's going to give you some juice going into the game. But, okay, I digress. You have a good point. But in a line that was even this past week, they beat the Jags 40-14. 40-14. This.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence missed like a quarter.
Okay, Mr. I love the Ravens.
No, okay,
I love the Ravens. The Jaguars beat the Ravens last week.
I moved the Ravens back.
Barely.
Dude. Chill.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, now I want to move the Jets to 9. You keep shooting down all my options here. You're a biased fan who put the Commanders at 9. You know what? The Steelers should be at 10.
Why are we?
They've won 3 of their last 4. Have they not?
Come on. Let's be serious.
They have the same record as the Lions. They have the same record as the Raiders.
The Commanders are 7-5-1. So if you're making that comparison,
let's be okay. Seattle is, I believe, they're either 6-6 or 7-5. Why have we not talked about? I mean, the Jets are 7-5.
Why do the Titans?
And
why do the Titans move out of the spot?
I'd rather lose a 1-score game to the Vikings than tie with the Giants.
Yeah, okay. It's close. I'm not telling you.
If we're talking power rankings, I mean, obviously, if I'm a team, would rather
this
die.
This is so fucked. We're so far apart.
Baker's wearing 17.
Ew.
Ugh. Look at this.
Ooh. God, he looks homeless. Goodness.
Future commander right there.
Don't do it. I'll start.
Dude, he's gonna sign there this offseason. You guys aren't gonna pick high enough. You're gonna walk. You're gonna sign Baker.
I will make fun of your hair. I'll do it. I don't want to.
I'll make fun of Carson Wentz's hair.
Okay. All right.
At least I have enough awareness not to wear gold or burgundy, or at the same time, wear a hot dog suit to my press conference.
He did wear it. He looked kind of fire. And when I was on the Carson Wentz train, it looked kind of fire. But okay, I digress. Do we want to put the Jets at 9 or the Titans at 9?
Probably, I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably the Jets. Defense is better than the Titans. And to be brutally honest, the offense might be better than the Titans
Also,
Traylon Burks is banged up. They can't get Derrick Henry going not the last couple weeks, but at least this past week
also,
they couldn't.
First week of the offense with Mike White. Like, they're going to take a little bit of time to really resonate with him as the QB1. So, they haven't had...
Well, I mean, dude, the locker rooms with Mike White. It's very, very similar to what's going on in Washington, where nobody is bought into Carson Wentz / Zach Wilson, and everybody is bought into Mike White / Heineke. They're not as talented, but they're going to get the ball. There's the same thing I've said with Taylor Heineke. Mike White knows that he can't make that play, but Garrett Wilson can. But Elijah Moore can. Same thing with Terry and Curtis Samuel and those guys. And I think the Jets locker room has bought into Mike White, and I don't think Zach Wilson plays another snap this year, barring injury. I really don't, because it's not like a situation where you're like the Bears, where you're like, okay, well, we need to see more of Justin Fields, or like, I don't really know. There's not another example here. but they're trying to win. Like, they're in a position to make the playoffs, potentially even win a playoff game. Like, they've been competitive with teams like, they beat the Bills. They're in a position to win a playoff game, if not more, even with Mike White. So I think they're going to roll with him for the rest of the year. With that being said, I'll probably keep them at 9. So then Jets at 9, Tennessee at 10. Ooh, this episode is going to be pushing 90.
Yeah.
We're
so far apart.
Because we are very far apart here, tier 2.
All right. I personally think that the Commanders are better than the Raiders. Like, outside of us tying the Giants this past week, which was not a loss, may I remind you, we went to New York, a 7-5 team, was not a loss.
Felt like it.
I mean, we were favored.
And we're favorites.
By 2. Okay. Like, that I'm not going to say that it was like it should push our position up. It should push us down slightly, but not as a loss. Not as much as a loss.
I know, but you pushed them up to 9.
Which was probably uncalled for.
In hindsight.
Yeah, which was probably uncalled for.
Okay. I'm still holding Seattle at 12. I think Seattle deserves to stay there. The offense played well, another 27-point outing for them. Geno finished was like 360. Both Lockett and DK go over 100 yards. It seems like Kenny Walker's not going to miss any time. If he does, it'll be just this week, and he'll be back. It's a mild foot strain, not an ankle or anything like that. So he should be back and healthy. And if he's back and healthy and playing, he's probably one of the best running backs in the league. He's played like that when he's gotten the role this year. And you have that with that offense. Now, this team isn't without flaw, because that defense is starting to show its holes. Not getting the turnovers that they were getting early in the year, and you're starting to see, some things seep through there a little bit. Pass rush can't get home. So, again, like I said, they're not without flaw, but that offense is humming. Then I'd probably have Washington. Then I don't know if I have a preference between Vegas or Detroit.
I was about to
really don't.
The Commanders, because you had them at 16, but I appreciate you putting them there.
Okay, I've moved them up. I've got them at 13.
Yeah, I think these first 6 spots look good. So,
whoa! I thought we had the Bucs. I have the Bucs at 11. I thought
there's no shot. There's no shot, dude. There is absolutely no fucking chance. They sucked for 3.5 quarters of football, and they barely beat one of the worst teams in football. Like, it was at home. Like, it was not a renaissance performance from the 5-6, now 6-6 Buccaneers. It was not. I'm sorry. I will not do that.
It wasn't a renaissance performance.
Not one to move them up to 12. I'll put them. They're definitely behind the commies. I think I'd put them right there.
Wait, hold on. I gotta come back to you. Yeah, okay. You know what? For the sake of the timing of this video, for you, buddy.
Okay.
We'll put
all
it
right,
there.
man.
For you, little guy.
Fuck you.
All right. So then the Raiders, the Raiders at 15. Now we have some tough decisions to make, because we have the underachieving Chargers, the injured Ravens, and the unexciting Patriots. One of these teams has to possess the 16 spot. We need to have a serious conversation about the Chargers.
Oh my God.
What the fuck? Listen, Rashawn Slater is gone. I understand that. Mike Williams isn't playing yet. I understand. Jamari Sawyers came in. He's not playing at Rashawn Slater's level, but he's playing at a serviceable left tackle level. Like, I love Jamari Salyer coming out. I would kill to have Jamari Salyer right now. There's no reason that they should have this much problem putting up points with that quarterback. There's no reason for this. They have Justin Herbert, and they're running 40-year-old Drew Brees' offense. I'm sure this is a wet dream for Mitchell, but it sucks for the rest of us. Why does this have to happen? Why? This team is so talented, and I know they're hurt, and I know this is kind of what the Chargers do, but this shouldn't happen week in and week out. It shouldn't. And like we said a couple weeks ago, I will never believe in the Chargers again. Ever. Never let me do it. We will hold each other accountable to never believe in the Chargers again.
I will do that for the both of us until Brandon Staley's fired. Like, this has been the case. Brandon Staley was brought in basically when Justin Herbert was brought in. And there is absolutely fucking no excuse for the way this offense looks with Justin Herbert. I mean, a good quarterback kicks it all off. From there, you figure everything out. You have an Austin Eckler. You have a Keenan Allen. You have a Gerald Everett who you paid.
And Keenan Allen's been playing well. Like, it's not like Keenan Allen's come back and has been completely hampered by his injury. You know, he's producing the last 2 weeks. I believe he's finished with more than 15 fantasy points, finishes with the 30 on the offense this week. Justin Herbert finished with a 61 PFF grade this past week against Vegas. I'm pretty sure he's going to be at a 75 on the season after that performance, which would be the lowest of his career. I think he finished with an 80 in his rookie year and 90 last year, which is like elite of elite. Right now he's sitting at a 76. So this would be the lowest grade of his career. Usually with a guy of that stature, you're going to keep moving up. I don't think there's really any way that Brandon Staley keeps his job, right or wrong, because at the end of the day, he's not calling the offensive plays. Like that, I can't fully blame him for the offensive struggles, especially
it should have been dead
set
for an AFC championship. There's no excuse. There's no reason why they shouldn't have been righted in AFC.
They should be a lot. Maybe not write it in, but they should have been every single week. They should be moving back and forth in tier 1 every single week, though. Every single I know you lose Slater, I know you lose J.C. Jackson. That's kind of addition by subtraction with the way he was playing for the first couple weeks, but like I said, they should have been moving like how Cincinnati's kind of been like teetering back and forth in tier 1, like how Miami's been doing all year. And we're now having a conversation to move them into tier 3 for the second time this year because they've already been in that tier at one point. We've moved them up. Now they're going right back down into it. This shouldn't be happening.
They will not make it back into tier 2, barring some crazy shit happening. Like, this team is not good. And they have the same problems, bro. Like, their run defense, which was supposed to be much improved this year, still fucking sucks. Their pass rush, which was supposed to be awesome, with Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa opposite of each other, still pretty much sucks. Like, there is no fucking excuse. Brandon Staley, he's a former defensive coordinator. He should at least have this defense buzzing. This offense looks terrible, but he should at least have this defense going, and it's not. Like, I know we mentioned J.C. Jackson being out. That's a big thing, but you signed J.C. Jackson in the offseason. Like, there should be no... You have Asante Samuel Jr., who's a perfectly suitable corner. Like, he's had his struggles at times this year, but looked really hot to start the year.
He's not an ideal one, I'll say that, especially with, his size. And then your 3 is like a really bad NFL player. But, yeah, with all that being said, they should be more competitive than they are. Where are we? So, like I said, we've got to choose the disappointing Chargers, the injured Ravens, and the unexciting Patriots. Who is staying at 16?
I'm doing it right now. I think it's the Pats, dude. And this is because...
Okay, I think so,
too. They haven't had any injuries that are going to affect them long-term for the rest of the year yet. This team, they lost to the Bills. So, everybody's going to lose the Bills every once in a while. So, I still think this team is a contender, but the Chargers did not look like a contender, and the Ravens barely beat the Broncos. So, yeah, that's definitely my team to round out tier 2, I think. But...
Do you have a recording time of how long we've been in? Okay, we've been in here. We've been recording for 55 minutes, and we're halfway done. Okay, yeah, we're halfway done. So that's somewhat of a train wreck. Usually tier 4 is pretty quick though, so we'll try and. But I think last week we spent a shit ton of time on tier 3.
God.
All right, what do you got in tier 3?
All right,
because this one's all. It's not that messy, but go ahead.
I mean, I could definitely see movement here for sure. But I have the Giants, the Packers, the Cardinals. I'd hear an argument for the Ravens or Chargers ahead of the Cardinals. But not the Chargers. Yeah, I might put the Ravens ahead of the Cardinals. But it would be Cardinals, then the Chargers, then the Browns, then the Steelers, then the Panthers.
Okay, so
Giants.
everything that we just said about the Chargers also applies to the Cardinals on a worse level without the injury issues.
Bingo.
You know, I mean,
Bingo.
granted, you had
Without
Hopkins.
the injury, like Marquise Brown came back 1 week and didn't do that well.
I know, but he's back. Rashawn Slater is done for the year. J.C. Jackson is done for the year.
Hollywood's been back for 1 week.
I know, and they've had these problems. I know, but they've had these problems while, I mean, one Hollywood Brown does not equate to your franchise left tackle and your franchise corner and missing Joey Bosa for multiple weeks and missing Keenan Allen for multiple weeks. And they have a worse record. They're 2 games behind the Chargers. And they lost to the Chargers last week. Bingo. And the week before that, they got the dog shit beat out of them by San Francisco.
You're right. Okay. All right. Well, God, I think the Chargers and the Cardinals are right next to each other. But are we cool with putting the Giants at the top of Tier 3?
I agree. So I'd be fine with it, maybe just for time's sake. I don't think I moved them from where they were. But obviously there's been some movement around. Like, I still had the Ravens and Chargers in Tier 2 in mind, but you kind of talked me out of having them there. Packers at 18, I think I'm fine with. We need to have a weird conversation about Cleveland because we were kind of prepping for what was going to happen with Watson, and props to Caden. Caden said that Caden said that Watson would suck right out of the gate, and
I said
boy,
that
ever
on
awful again. Yeah, you did. I think you did say that. Yeah, I just remember Caden saying it like multiple times, so it was like engraved. Sorry. Kane, our wonderful podcast host here, also made an excellent call. 100% right, has never been wrong, ever, about anything. Yeah, I to say that, like, this is what we're going to see from Deshaun Watson for the rest of his time in Cleveland, probably wrong. But it is a little concerning that, you know, with all the motivation that he would have to come out and play well against the team that has been definitively the worst team in football for all year, and then to come out and you don't score a touchdown, you get kind of saved by your defense. I think the defense ended up scoring
all
at least 2 touchdowns. And Donovan Peoples-Jones had a
defense
return
special
touchdown.
teams.
So that was So it's a little concerning. Now, playing against your former team in Houston, in the city that you essentially just, I wouldn't say got kicked out of, but you asked out of, and then got accused 25 times by 25 different women of sexual assault, and 10 of them were at the game watching you, I could understand having some butterflies in that game, especially after not playing for 2 years.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, imagine a guy doesn't play football for 2 years and he comes back and he sucks. Who would have thought? Like, I know it's Deshaun Watson, but fuck. Like, if you don't play football for 2 years and then you just pull up at practice, like, it's probably not going to be good. I mean, the last time we really saw the Browns look really good, I mean, they beat the Bucs.
Was Cincinnati.
And it's been a while. So, and we kind of just held that hope up of like, hey, Deshaun Watson's coming back. Deshaun Watson's coming back. They look good against Cincinnati. And that's kind of carried them. But now Deshaun Watson's back and they played the worst team in football. And the defense and special team scored all their points. Not Nick Chubb, not Kareem Hunt. They couldn't even get the run game going against the Texans. So,
you know what? I'm gonna put my steel frame glasses on here. The Steelers play the Ravens this week with no Lamar Jackson, and you know these are power rankings for the rest of the season. We don't know when Lamar's going to be back. Supposed 1 to 3 weeks. Steelers are probably going to be favored against the Ravens this week. Steelers have been playing well. I think they should be at 19.
I do have the Steelers moving up this week for sure. They beat Atlanta this past week. They look good. It was a grinded out win. George Pickens not being involved is concerning.
I don't think, and I know you weren't around, or obviously you weren't around it as much as I was with the AB thing, but when a player with that mindset has a game like that, it blows up like that. NFL players have games like that. That happens where you get one target. Like that's I think there was a game earlier in this year where Devontae Adams had like 2 targets. Devontae Adams is a lot better than George Pickens. And in an offense like we have, where we're not going to throw the ball 40 times a game in, most scenarios, there are going to be days where the George Pickens gets 1 target, and that just kind of happens. Now, the fact that he blew up after that, that's something that's going to be handled internally. I have no doubt in my mind about that. Mike Tomlin kept the AB drama. I mean, you saw how bad it got as soon as he left Pittsburgh. Like, you thought there were things going wrong in Pittsburgh? Look up a timeline of what's happened with Antonio Brown since he left Pittsburgh. Like, that was a problem that has been there for a little bit. It was internalized. Tomlin kept it in the locker room. I don't think that this is going to be an issue moving forward. And like Tomlin said, I'd much rather have to pull you back than to have to push you into that. Like, I'd much rather have a guy than a guy that you've got to ask him to win.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I'm with that. Okay. I definitely have him moving up. I'll put him ahead of the Chargers. But probably not the Ravens. I mean, despite everything that I've said about the Ravens, they did catch another win this week. They still win the division, and now they're up to 9 wins now.
8
So,
and 4.
I mean, putting an 8-4 team any lower is kind of a crime. So,
I have them at 20. I mean, when you lose your quarterback.
Yeah. I mean.
And I was at work, but I watched that game because obviously I'm at Portside, big Ravens group there. They did absolutely nothing on offense until that final drive. Like, nothing. You could see by the score being 10 points, and they scored 7 points, with a minute left in the game. They did nothing. And Denver has a really good defense, don't get me wrong, but our defense has been playing really well the last couple weeks too. And the Ravens have not beaten the Steelers in 1,073 days.
Fuck. That's insane. I think I'm going to leave.
I love that so much. That's such an amazing stat. I hate them fuckers, man. I hate the Ravens.
I mean,
so much. I hate the Ravens.
I used to have the biggest. I used to be a Steelers fan for a little bit just because.
Are you? Why did you never tell me that?
It was like.
How is this?
It was before I really dove into football. Like, it was before I really got into it, and I just fucking hated all the Ravens fans. So I was like, you know what?
I will save you. Please come,
dude. I had a Ben Roethlisberger jersey.
We will welcome you with open arms, dude. What the? How did I ever know this? Of all the times that we've talked about, you've never told me this.
Because it was so long ago, dude. Like, it was before I really was like, okay, I'm into this.
This like something that you say when you meet me.
Dude, like,
hey, I used to be a Steelers fan when I was like 6.
It was like elementary school. Like, it was going through elementary school, and all the Ravens fans around me, I was just like, you know what? Fuck these kids. I'm a Steelers fan just because I fucking hate you guys. Yeah. So, that was the origins of my Steelers fandom for that small amount of time. But, yeah, I'm glad to let you know that, man.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
I still want a big hat. But, okay. I'm probably not going to move the Steelers ahead of the Ravens just yet, but they play this week, so
if they win, I want them to
Oh,
I don't care if Lamar's coming back or what. If they win, I want them
for
to
sure. All right.
So then we've got Steelers, then Chargers, then Cleveland.
Yeah. And then
you go with that?
Yeah.
I have Arizona in front of Jacksonville.
Yes. And then
okay, tier 3's done.
Not quite. The Lions or the Jags were there was an even spread going into the game, and they fucking got their shit absolutely fucked. Like, it was an even spread. You don't see that a lot in the NFL ever. So, like, it was supposed to be a really close game.
Now, was that a lot of, oh my God, Trevor Lawrence has figured it out after his one game-winning drive against Baltimore?
He's been figuring it out.
Like, everybody's buying into Jacksonville?
He's been figuring it out.
Has he? Dude, I mean, I am like a big Trevor Lawrence believer, but I'm not ready to say that he's figured it out. Clearly he didn't figure it out. He just got dog shit kicked in by one of the worst defenses
Yeah,
in the league.
I'm not going to argue against you. I mean, I want to move the Jags down.
But I don't feel better about Atlanta. I don't feel better about Carolina. I definitely don't feel better about Indianapolis. Carolina, come on, man. They didn't even play this week. So to say like, okay, well, yeah, we need to bump them up 3 spots here. Carolina played Baltimore and lost. It's close. They lost.
Yeah, but they have looked a lot better. Like,
this is a team that at multiple points this year we've had as our worst team.
But,
and there have been no, like, I can't point at one thing and be like, oh yeah, this got a lot better.
Because they got rid of Baker Mayfield. They're dedicated to their quarterback now. Like they, yeah, like you're not being truthful about this.
Well, yeah, but they had PJ in there. I mean, how can you say that they're dedicated to their quarterback?
But
they played like 3 guys
Darnold
this year.
Is the starter. PJ is the backup, and Baker's not there.
I know, but he's played 1 game though. We thought that PJ was the starter, good. And then we thought Baker was the starter. Good. PJ looked awesome. PJ posted like a 93 PFF grade against Atlanta.
And
he's benched now.
He really sucked the week after that. A lot.
Yeah. Sam Darnold is prone to really sucking. By the way, I don't know if you followed Sam Darnold's career, but he has done that quite a few times.
I saw an interview with Sam Darnold a couple days ago on TikTok, and it was with Jordan Palmer has a podcast with like a couple other guys. But he was talking about how they start talking about the Zach Wilson situation. And it's really, I mean, Darnold's situation is pretty fucking similar. You know, like he was also drafted by the Jets in a top 5 pick, yada, yada, yada. And he was like, it really makes a difference when you're dedicated, like, to your quarterback, like, mentally. Because, and dude, like, this is something I think back to fucking high school, bro. Like, with, like, goalkeeping and everything, like, Cherry, like, you gotta commit to your guys, man. Like, whoever it is, like, you gotta commit to your guy. Like, if it was you, all right.
I mean, when you've got some, like, raw talent coming up in the freshman class, I mean, I don't know if you'd really want to fully commit to that guy when you've got this, like, bright, shining young prospect coming in who was just awesome.
He was awesome.
I mean,
he was awesome. He was making plays out of the gate, dude. If anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, me and Jaden, that's basically how we became friends, like really good friends, because we were fighting for the goalie position in high school. But yeah, shit just kind of moved from there. But anyway, dedicating to your guy mentally, like he was talking about how Mike McDaniel showed Tua all those plays and reminded him, like, hey, like, you're actually good. Like, no, not a lot of other dudes can do this. And Darnold was like, that changes everything. Like, once you have the belief from...
Did he, in that interview, say, I feel that way in Carolina?
What?
Because, again, Darnold came back and was healthy, and they were still playing P.J. Walker for a few weeks while he was playing like shit. And when P.J. got hurt, Baker was the quarterback. Not Darnold, when Darnold was healthy. So what makes you believe that Darnold feels that way, or that Carolina feels that way about Darnold?
Okay, all right.
And even if they do, why should that move them into tier 3?
Okay.
I like Darnold. I thought Darnold would be a Steeler, but I don't think he's that damn good.
It's not an argument as to more like, oh, this Panthers team, they're back, like they're fucking here. It's more,
let's put them in tier 2.
That the Jags beat the Ravens, and the Ravens fucking suck. And that was really the only good thing that the Jags have done recently. So the Panthers.
I mean, what impressive thing have the Panthers done recently?
Something. I mean, they won. Here, look, on bye this week, obviously.
Beat.
So
I think they won last week. I think they won in week 12.
Last week they beat the Broncos 23-10.
They beat the Broncos, who we have as our 3rd worst team. The week before that, they kept it close with the Ravens, who the Jaguars beat. They beat the Falcons, so I'd be willing to move them in front of the Falcons if we want to do that. The week before that, they got their shit stomped by Cincinnati.
Yeah,
beat by the Falcons.
The rest of the year sucks. You don't have to read it off. Like, I know. But the Jags, like, I mean, what have they done to be so heralded? Like,
they beat the Ravens. They're not heralded. They're just a spot in front of the Panthers because they have a more impressive win.
All right.
On their resume more recently than Carolina. I've got Carolina at 25 now. I've moved them in front of Atlanta after our conversation here.
I'll do this in the sake of time. I still think that the Jags are probably worse. But if we're paper watching, you do have Trevor Lawrence. Christian Kirk's been playing well. Travis Etienne, he's been a little banged up, but he's back.
One thing that's I will grant you on Carolina's, Jacksonville's defense has really taken a step back since the beginning of the year. You had guys like Devin Lloyd was flying around making plays. He's since pretty much been benched in favor of Chad Muma, who they drafted in the 3rd round, which really goes to show why you don't trade up to take a linebacker in the 1st round when you're the Jacksonville Jaguars. Josh Allen's not been getting home. Trayvon Walker really hasn't been getting home either. So their defense, and you want to sit here and be like, yeah, let's keep loading up the offense, but you've got to have something on defense to really feel comfortable doing that, and they don't really have that right now.
On the other hand,
so Jags are in a rough spot, and Carolina's defense is good, but again, we're one spot here.
Yeah,
we're really one spot here. We'll see what happens this week. Both teams play this upcoming week, so we'll get to learn more about each team. Then I've got Atlanta at 26. Then Indy at 27. Can't have that shit happen.
No. Okay.
They got fucking pounded by Dallas.
They did. And they are one of the worst teams in football.
Pounded.
Did not score in the 4th quarter. It was a 33-0
run.
run.
I cannot 30 fumbles in 13 weeks. How do you do that? I feel like you could add one lateral into every drive and you still wouldn't fumble that many times in 13 weeks. You got a lateral once every drive, you still wouldn't fumble that many times.
It's because Matt Ryan has 10 by himself. He's been terrible. But okay. I kind of have an argument for the Bears behind the Panthers. You look at the Falcons, I know I was super high. I know they did just lose, but they were in the lead against Green Bay for a while. Justin Fields had that big run that really set the tone at the beginning of the game, and for a while it looked like the Bears were going to win. But the Packers end up kind of making a comeback. Christian Watson scores a touchdown. A.J. Dillon really dominates time of possession in the second half, and they end up coming back and winning it. But this Bears team just keeps getting brutalized by close losses. I know it wasn't as close on the scoreboard, but it was a close game in general. And Atlanta, I know I was hyping them up at the beginning of the year, but they have lost how many in a row? They have not done anything good recently at all.
No, they stink, but I think Chicago stinks worse, man. Their defense is just helpless.
It's injured.
Every week it's helpless.
Injured. Jaquan Brisker was out this week.
It's going to stay injured.
Kyler Gordon was out this week, so that's your 2 starting DBs. You just drafted high in the draft.
Yeah, but those are the only 2 notable players on their defense. I can't think of another player on their defense. My first thought after you said those 2 names was Danny Trevathan.
Okay.
I'm not even sure if he's still playing.
Dude, let's just read off with the Falcons. Okay,
Jalen Johnson. 2 second-round rookies is immediately where my mind goes for Chicago. Come on.
You know what?
Atlanta, we're really pulling hairs.
The one win that Atlanta has out of the past 5. Take a guess.
Carolina.
It's the Bears. So, yeah. All right.
Woohoo!
Then the Bears.
I had the Bears at 29, or no, I had them at 30.
I think now that Justin Fields is here,
I'll move them up.
It's power rankings. It's power rankings. But okay.
Yeah, but there's no power anywhere other than Justin Fields. It's just so that team is just so helpless. They can't do anything other than Justin Fields. There's been, I think it was some crazy stat that no quarterback has had 3 50-yard touchdown runs in their entire career, and Justin Fields has done that in a month.
It's awesome.
I'm. This is exactly what you wanted for Chicago this year. Like, this is the goal, and you achieved it. And it's like really hard to put them this low when you do that. But your goal coming into the season was to figure out if Justin Fields is going to be your franchise quarterback, and they've done exactly that. And the answer is yes. Like, they could have done that, and the answer could have been no. It could have been a lot worse than that. But they have nothing else, but they know Justin Fields is their franchise quarterback. Now, they're going to have to spend a lot of money this offseason, and are they going to have enough, draft picks and enough time, really, to build this thing around Fields before you've got to start committing to paying him $40 million a year? But
that's a good question.
Man, Bears are going to be fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, it was not expected because of the Eberflus fire for sure, hire for sure. And honestly, this
is insane.
I can't see it. Zoom out. Oh, wow. Wow. That is fucking Tyler North, our very own, in a picture with Patrick Mahomes. Dude, put it on the story.
I am.
Yeah.
I was gonna. Also, I'm just gonna say this. Congrats to Tyler North and Kara from Kansas. I don't know her last name, but I know her Instagram. Got engaged over the past weekend. I wanted to put on an Instagram post when he sent the pictures over, but let's give a round of applause before we finish up here to Tyler. Congrats, man, on getting engaged. Could do great things in this marriage and for the rest of your life. Couldn't be prouder.
Yeah, man. Fuck yeah. He's been talking about it the past couple weeks. I couldn't imagine, like, even when it comes time that I'm going to do that, like, I'm going to be nervous as fuck. So that's a hell of a moment. And let's go Tyler, bro. One of the Blitzpod members is in an engagement. So that's crazy. All right. Let's finish this up.
Dude's having a hell of a week, too. He's currently taking a picture next to Patrick Mahomes. Hell of a week.
Fucking cool. That's it. He was supposed to possibly promote the Blitz podcast to either Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce. So
better be promoting the Blitz podcast, or he's not invited back.
Should have gotten that tattoo on the forehead. Would have really stuck with him. Like, that's a conversation starter. Like, hey, what's that tattoo?
What the fuck is wrong with that guy?
Maybe I want to go on his podcast. All right. The Saints in front of the Bears.
Since I made that top, no. You just said they stink.
They do stink. And they lost, but they almost beat the Bucs last night.
I'd put them in front of Indy, though.
And then
L.A. Baker season, though.
No. Is it really that much better? Is it really that much better?
Did you see the pick John Wolford threw to finish the game? Like, I watched the camera keep moving, and I was like, well, eventually there's got to be a Rams player coming to the shot here at some point. They never came into the shot. There was not a Rams player on the TV screen when he threw the interception. And it was like 30 yards, right in the middle of the field. There was no one even in the TV screen.
Okay.
Awful.
He doesn't have anybody to throw to. Allen Robinson on IR. Cooper Kupp out. Like,
he didn't have anybody to throw to in Cleveland. He didn't have anybody to throw to in Cleveland.
OBJ and Jarvis Landry. Nah. Yeah. Who are those fellas?
Yeah, they stink. Well, I mean, he had who needs OBJ when you have DPJ?
My guy.
Right. Remember that era? Remember I
saw him,
the Donovan Jones belief
era. I saw him take that kickback this week. Shed a tear. Shed a quick tear.
I'll never forget that the Browns-Steelers game that I went to last year. Someone actually worked multiple hours at their job to buy an official Nike Donovan Peoples-Jones jersey. Someone did that. Someone made that choice.
Must have been. I don't know. There is no explanation for that, actually. But, okay. Let's round this out, brother.
Broncos-Texans. We're good.
Broncos-Texans. Okay. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. Looks pretty good. This was probably our most, especially considering that it's just 1 week. This has been the most amount of back and forth that we've done on a Power Rankings episode.
And especially since it was just us two, because usually when there's three of us, it's three opinions, so we're like kind of all over the place. But usually when it's just me and you, or you and Tyler, or whatever, we're kind of like easier to come to agreements. But we were so far apart this week. Glad we were able to finally put something together that I surely will not alter in any way, shape, or form by the time it's. I'm just kidding. I would never, ever.
You're a terrible person. Anyway, let's recap for the audio listeners out there before we sign off. So, in Tier 1, heading into Week 14, here are the power rankings. Starting out at number 1, we have the Eagles. Then following them up, we have the Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, Dolphins, Vikings, and 49ers. And then following up Tier 2, we have the Jets at 9, followed by the Titans, Lions, Seahawks, Commanders, Bucs, Raiders, and Patriots. Then you dive into Tier 3, we got the Giants, Packers, Ravens, Steelers, Chargers, Browns, Cardinals, and Jags. And then to wrap it out, we got the Panthers, Falcons, Bears, Saints, Colts, Rams, Broncos, and Texans. So, that does it for our Week 14 Power Rankings episode.
Really quickly, before we get out of here, I just want to ask you, where do you think Aaron Judge lands? Not a football question. Because we had the fake Giants report today. Where do you think Aaron Judge lands?
Honestly, there's probably still a solid chance that he ends up in San Fran. Like, I know it was reported early.
I think it's down to 2. I think it's going to be San Fran or he goes back to the Bucs.
I mean, they re-signed Cashman.
I know that he was a little pissed that they couldn't work out a deal like with the arbitration and everything, but
you can't with Aaron Judge. Like, you can't sit in arbitration with Aaron Judge. Like, you'd be paying him $30 million.
Yeah.
Which they're probably going to be doing anyway. But last thought on this, they did re-sign Cashman to a deal which nobody thought that they would do. So, like, them re-signing Cashman tells me that he's trying really hard to get Aaron Judge back. So, we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
But, all right, man. Like I said, that does it for our Week 14 Power Rankings episode. Feeling pretty good about it. This will be out tomorrow afternoon for sure. Later in the week.
By tomorrow afternoon, you mean?
Yes, right now. When you're listening to this, it's out. So, tomorrow afternoon is Tuesday afternoon.
Today's Tuesday.
Wednesday. This will be out on Wednesday afternoon. We're recording it on Tuesday night. But, sorry for the confusion. But yeah, this will be out tomorrow. Later in the week episode is kind of TBD. We'll see what we do there. But we'll keep you posted. So, without further ado, we'll sign off. Catch you later this week. Peace.